Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Everybody. All right, today we are talking about grocery shopping mistakes that are costing you big. Welcome back. If you haven't seen us, we haven't been live for quite a while, actually.
December.
We did one in December, but it's been, 7 months since we've been full-time live. So welcome back. We are talking about grocery mistakes, and most of these I did once. I was like, I'm never doing this again. So the number one mistake that people make as far as saving groceries is concerned is sticking to a list when you go to the grocery store. Now, this is a really big tip that everybody gives, and they say, write a list and only stick to that list when you go to the grocery store. Well, here's the thing. If you do that, then you miss out on good deals or clearance items or manager specials that they have at the store that you're not planning on. So if I just took my grocery list and I only bought those things, I wouldn't be able to see the $1.25 ham that I got the other day on clearance in my Walmart. I wouldn't be able to get the avocados when I got 10 avocados for $2 one time. So I would miss out on a lot of really good savings. Now, just because something is on sale doesn't mean that it's a good deal. I don't just go around just buying things just because they're on sale or they're good deals. I only buy them if I need them. I only buy them if I can use them. So like on the avocados when I got them, well, I changed my meal plan around so that we had Mexican food that week. I froze some of the avocados. I made them up into guacamole. And then I was able to still enjoy the guacamole and the avocados, but I wasn't just being so firm to my list that I couldn't make way for good deals and clearance items and that type of thing. So that's the first one. That's probably the biggest one that I think is the biggest mistake, is that you just cannot stick to your list. If you happen to find something that's a better deal, go for it and get it and stock up. We are taking your comments and questions tonight. So if you guys have a comment or question about anything, we've had several people ask about a Bible show. We're happy to talk to you about that too, if you would like. Having a set in stone meal plan is the next mistake.
Yeah.
Now, if you need meal plans, right here, Dining on a Dime Cookbook Volume 1, we've got 5 pages of meal plans. And guys, it is on sale right now. All of our books are on sale for our Mother's Day sale, up to 50% off with all of our cookbooks. But having a set in stone meal plan, it's fine if you like to meal plan. That's totally okay. But you have to give yourself a little bit of flexibility so that, like I said earlier, if you come across a really good deal, let's say I had set in stone chicken recipes and I found those avocados. Well, we really like avocados. So now what do? It's chicken meals this week, but the avocados are in sale and we really like avocados. Well, because my meal plans aren't set in stone, I was able to switch all of my meal plans over to Mexican food. Then we had enchiladas, we had tacos, we had, I had fish tacos, I had burritos, burrito bowls, all of those different dishes could be made with the avocados. And so because I'm able to, switch around my meals and I'm just not stuck on one meal plan. Now, if having a meal plan just set in stone really helps you, that's fine. But just remember, you might have things that you need to use up in the refrigerator. You might come across towards the fall where somebody gives you a whole bunch of fruit or vegetables that you could use. Well, if those aren't in your meal plan, you're not accepting free fruits and vegetables because they're not in your meal plan. That just doesn't even make sense. So be sure that you have a little bit of flexibility in your meal plan also. Okay, let's see. Next one. Oh, yeah. What?
I can tell by what you're saying this is going to be good.
Yeah. Well, this one is controversial. Have you ever known me to be controversial, honey?
Never. You're such a little church mouse.
The next one, shopping at one store. Now, you would think that that wouldn't be something controversial, would you? But it is.
I've heard people get very upset about telling them to shop at more than one store.
Now, I am not saying that you have to use $40 in gas driving all over creation and 3 days to go get your groceries for a week. That's not what I'm saying at all. But the majority of people on their way to work, on their way home to work, or going to the doctors or wherever will probably pass at least 2 or 3 different grocery store type places. There will at least be an Aldi or a Walmart or a regular grocery store of some type. And all of those different places have sales on different foods so that when you go and are looking at your ads, let's say, so for this one, roasts are pork roasts are $1.97 right here. Okay. Well, if I just shopped at Walmart, I wouldn't get the $1.97 roast. What I would do is I would pay, let me see how much it is right now. It may be the same price because my Walmart matches here pretty well. No, $3.27 for a pork roast. So instead of paying $1.97 at Albertsons across the street, I would pay $3.47 at Walmart. Well, that's absolutely ridiculous. If I know that I have a doctor's appointment this week, and even if the grocery store isn't next door to Walmart, because I buy most of my groceries in my town in Walmart because I don't have an Aldi. My regular grocery stores are really expensive. And so Walmart is the cheapest place for me to go. But Albertsons and Ridley's, the other 2 places here, have sales. And so when I'm on the way to the doctor's office or wherever I'm going, the thrift store, whatever, then I'll stop in for the week and pick up what's ever on sale and stock up my freezer. By the way, guys, have you been noticing what?
I'm just anticipating.
Oh, you're anticipating.
I don't know what she's going to say. Sometimes I'm shocked myself.
I haven't been seeing stuff on sale at grocery stores as much as it has been. Beef and chicken. Beef is the worst. Chicken is the second worst. Pork has been the biggest sell item lately at the grocery stores. And so my freezer is actually about half empty, maybe 3/4 empty. So I'm at the stage now where I'm at the clean out stage of my freezer. And I'm going to see how low I can get it. Going to turn it off, get it cleaned, get it defrosted, and hopefully start buying a few more things. But here's the thing. With all of these tariffs and stuff that could possibly be coming up, you know, you may want to try to keep on top of your stockpile. So I'm not sure why a beef isn't being on sale anymore. Several people said beef prices were going up. Actually, one of our viewers, Bounty in the Badlands, has been warning us for about 6 or 7 months that prices for beef was going to go up. And she's right. That's why I stocked up on so much I did when she was saying that. And so if you find a good deal, which they're all over the place. A viewer just the other day sent me, they had chicken on for $1.47 a pound. Stock up, get those freezers stocked up and use those sales to your advantage. So don't shop at just one store. All right, next one is, oh yeah, not watching the price while it rings up at the register or checking a receipt. Now, I stand there and watch as every single thing is scanned so that I don't have to go back to customer service after it's already been done. Now, I understand if you have little kids or something, that is very difficult. When I would go shopping with my little kids, what I would do is pick a lane where someone had the conveyor belt mostly filled so that I could start putting my stuff up as soon as they were going. And it gave me time to get on the conveyor belt before they started scanning my stuff. If they started scanning my stuff, then I would turn it, the little, what do you call it? I don't know. What do you call that thingy-mabopper? The price thing where it shows on there.
Wait, on what?
Cash register.
Oh, yeah, the little display.
Display, yeah.
Yep.
I would turn the display towards me so that I could see it as it's scanning. Like I would hear the beep and I'd look up as I'm unloading the rest of the stuff.
Well, because a lot of things don't ring up, right?
I would say probably Walmart's doing better now, but it used to be 90% of the time I would have to correct a charge when I went to the grocery store. But I would say it's probably 60% of the time, maybe 50% of the time, I have to correct it now. So yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, but you just got to keep an eye on it. And also what I do is if something's on clearance or a rollback or whatever, I will take a picture of it. Or the other thing is, one time bread was $1.32 over here and $1.42 over here because they missed the label. Well, $1.32 is what it says they're selling for. And I knew they had just missed the label, but I took a picture of it so that when I got up there and it scanned at $1.42, I said, nope, your label right there says $1.32. And I took a picture of it. So, be sure you watch as your stuff is being scanned and make sure that it gets the correct price. The next tip is, I should have gotten footage for this. Don't assume one store is cheaper than another. So we went to Branson, Missouri last week. We drove 2.5 days there and 2.5 days back to spend 3 days there. And we happened on one of our stops. I didn't get to stop in Branson, but we happened on one of our stops to go to a gas station that was across the street from Aldi. What city was that in? Do you remember? Was it Kansas City? It wasn't Kansas City, was it? We didn't stop in Kansas City.
No,
I can't remember.
It was north of Springfield somewhere.
Was it Springfield? And so they were getting gas. And I'm like, oh man, I need to run into Aldi to just get some video footage for upcoming videos. I was like, oh, we really need to get going. So I told Mike, I said, okay, it'll take me 5 minutes. It actually took me like 10 or 15 minutes. I apologize for the delay. I didn't know. Well, this was
she said, should we go to, oh, actually, wait. It was one of the cities that, anyway, she said, yeah, do you think I should go? And I was thinking, yes, you should go, obviously, because we're always talking about Aldi. And you're always saying, I wish I had some footage from Aldi. So there you go.
So I thought it would take me 5 minutes, but this Aldi was about 4 times the size of ours in Wichita.
It was really big.
It was huge. So I did not expect it to be that big when I went in there. And so I went in and got my footage, and I was watching the prices. And anybody want to take a guess at how much cheaper Aldi is than Walmart? You want to take a guess at how much cheaper Aldi is than Walmart?
I know the answer.
I'm curious. Comment and let me know just give me a percentage that you think Aldi is cheaper than Walmart. And so I'm filming and I was like, well, this is really interesting. No wonder people talk about Aldi so much. And Wanda says 25%. Janet says not much. Rachel, 20%. Dixie, not much. Barbara, by the way, thank you for the Easter card. We appreciate that. That was very lovely to get. Kathy, 50%. Karen, Barbara says 0%. Karen, 10%. 10, 20, 20, 10. Wow. So guess how much Aldi was cheaper than Walmart?
They're already guessing. Just kidding.
0%.
Which is so weird because it used to be way cheaper.
It used to be way, way cheaper.
At least our Aldi did.
And now, actually, I say 0%, but it might be like 1 or 2% because there were, of all the products that I scanned and filmed, there were only 2 that I remember. Bread. I don't even think it was bread. Was it bread? It was bread and possibly milk and bananas. Bread, milk, and bananas were the 3 that were actually cheaper than Walmart.
Wow.
And I'm going to be doing a video on this, and I'm going to go through Walmart, and I'm going to go through Aldi. And what I'll do is, if we can remember what city it was, I can't remember what city it was. And we can remember, maybe we could look at our gas receipts. If we can remember what city it was, I'm going to go to their Walmart versus that Aldi to see if, to compare. Because I know comparing Wyoming to Missouri, it's totally different, and I get that. But they were the same prices that I pay here in Wyoming.
Well, and we're at the end.
They weren't any different.
We're at the end of the supply chain, so our stuff here is probably more expensive. In fact, it did seem that way because in Branson, I was in the store and I was thinking, "Wow, there's some good deals here." Yeah. But it made me think, well, that's maybe because this is Missouri and we're in a very remote part of Wyoming.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was totally shocked. I'm going to do a video comparing to see just how much I could save at Aldi. But the majority of the items were not any cheaper. So don't assume just because it's Aldi or Save a Lot or grocery outlet or Ship and Save or whatever. Is that Yaku on there? Hello, Yaku. We just always assume because it has the name discount or it's associated with a discount store that it is cheaper, and it may not necessarily be cheaper. So, yeah, so those are my top tips. Mike's sending me the questions. Send me your comments and questions, guys. Yeah, in this area, real Walmarts cost 10% plus more. Wow. That's crazy. All right. Well, Mike's getting the questions over to me, guys. Our Dining on a Dime cookbooks are up to 50% off. Let's see. Is it 50% off if you buy both?
A 2-book set or a 3-book set.
So if you get a 2-book set or a 3-book set, this is our gluten-free, dairy-free. It is 50% off. Otherwise, it is 40%.
40, which is still really great.
Which is still really good.
If you just need a single
Volume 1 is where to start if you just can afford one. Volume 2 is just a continuation of this one, totally new recipes, but we just couldn't fit them all in one book. And then this is my gluten-free, dairy-free edition. I am gluten-free, dairy-free, and that is how I eat and still save money. Jan Marie, did you get new appliances again? I'm going to answer that one.
Goodness. That's a story for sure.
Okay.
That's just you asked the right question if you want a Tara rant. Whoa.
We are going to have an exorcism on our appliances. Oh my goodness. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, we had a refrigerator issue where it was just really, really loud. And then we had a fan problem, got the fan problem fixed, all that. Brand new appliances 18 months ago.
When we redid the kitchen.
When we remodeled our kitchen. So, Yaku, are you guys living in Billings now? So We finally just gave up, was putting up with the noise. I'm like, I cannot live with this noise. It was driving me nuts. I know I have brain issues. I get it. Mike will confer. And so we
brain issues. You can ask me.
We decided to go ahead and just cut our losses and buy another new refrigerator. So we got an Amana top refrigerator, bottom freezer.
Well, Pistol said that the side-by-sides are generally going to be louder than, he said the best ones are the ones with the freezer on top, like the old days, because they need less fans and things to get the cooling right. That the freezer on the bottom is better than a side-by-side, and the side-by-side is more likely to be louder. So
we got
with that information in mind, we decided to change.
So we forked out another $1,600.
It's better than therapy. It was cheaper than therapy.
I am not kidding. 2 months later. 2 months later. The refrigerator is a bone acre. I'm not exaggerating. I started noticing.
She's not kidding.
I started noticing one day, I was like, wait a minute. My blueberries are soft.
I noticed that stuff in the freezer was really soft.
And I was like, what is going on? So I messed with the thing. Nothing, turned it up, didn't work. So I was like, okay, so I waited a few more days. Everything was still cold, but not frozen. So then I told Mike, he was having a momentary meltdown. We almost got divorced.
Over which
He's
thing?
like, what do you mean? It cannot be freezing. Well, you're just got the temperature right.
Well, no, I was saying in the past we had somebody come out and they said if you turn them up all the way, if you turn up the fridge all the way, that the freezer won't freeze. Or if you turn up the fridge anyway, there was this balance between the two. And I thought maybe it's that before we panic and freak out completely.
So he's blaming me.
And then Tara said, I jacked them both up to the top. Jack wouldn't appreciate us saying that. But anyway, and I was like, I'm not sure that's a good plan.
So it was 2 weeks, a week. No, it was a week. Was it a week or 2 weeks? I can't remember. 1 or 2 weeks before Pistol could even get out here to look at it, because he's the only appliance repair guy at his company now.
Really? I didn't know that part.
So last week while we were on vacation, I said, come on in, Pistol, anyway. We got to get this fixed, even if we're not home. He's like, okay. Well, so in the meantime, the dryer starts making a clunking noise. And everybody's like, Mom, I don't think the dryer should be making that noise. I'm like, brother. So someone who will remain nameless, Jack, did not unload his pant pockets when he went to go do his laundry. This is a frequent theme for him. I find all kinds of things in the filter. One day I found in one, I found a pencil, a pen, an eraser, 2 cough drops, pennies, a nickel, and there was something else. I can't remember what it was. Oh, one of his 3D printed things. All just from one. So anyway, I told Pistol, I said, while you're there, I said, my dryer is making a noise I don't think it should be making. Can you listen for a minute and see if I need to have you fix that too? And he said, oh yeah. He said, you've got something stuck in there. I said, well, do we need to get it fixed? He said, yeah, you need to get that fixed, or it's going to scrape and then cause problems. I'm like, okay. So Pistol fixed the dryer. He had an apprentice working on the refrigerator, the compressor, and the computer motherboard, whatever board, control board. The compressor and the control board were both dead on the refrigerator. Okay, that's fine. Pistol said, oh, it's not. Pistol said, yeah, we can fix it, but it's going to be at least 2 to 3 weeks before we can even think about getting around to doing it. So hold on, the story is not finished. Because when we get home, Jack's like, Mom, a pair of Dad's underwear is stuck in the dryer. I'm like, what? Sure enough, something happened, and now there's a pair of Mike's underwear wedged in the dryer seal. And we can't get them out. So I told, I'll have to talk about them. I told Mike, I said, how in the world do I text Pistol and tell him your underwear is stuck in the dryer seal? It was like, that was my having a breakdown moment. So anyway.
Yeah.
So our friends from France are on here. I'm going to get to your questions, but our friends from France are watching. So we had the funniest thing happen a couple of weeks ago. And do we have a picture that we can show of their vehicle? I don't think I got it off my phone yet. Shoot, do you have it on your computer?
I wasn't expecting.
I wasn't either. So we had the funniest thing happen. You want me to look on your phone real quick while you start telling how you do this? Or, I mean, how you came about discovering these people. So Mike was at the library working, and he noticed a vehicle, a very different vehicle. It looked like a great big trash truck. Oh, here it is. Out in okay, let's see if I can just show it like this. Okay, out in the library parking lot. See the big thing in the back there? Okay, it looks like our American trash trucks. But he noticed that they had YouTube and Instagram and all this. He's like, oh, they're content creators. And then he realized, wait a minute, all the wording's in French. So go ahead.
Well, yeah. When we were in Europe in 2019, Ellie and I went to Paris briefly, and we kind of planned to maybe go back to France later, but I was not at all prepared. And I thought, man, I would really love to be able to speak French. So I was trying to learn for a couple of years. And when I saw that, I thought, oh, this would be an opportunity to go speak to somebody in French. So I went in the library and happened to see them and went and talked to them. And they were super, super awesome, like wonderful people. So then I talked to them for a little while, came home. I said to Tara, maybe if they're parking that somewhere on the street or looking for a place, it would be good to say, hey, we have a place that's kind of private and all that where you could park. So we went ahead and invited them to come over, and they did. And so then they stayed here for a whole day, and then the morning of another day, and we had the most amazing time.
They were really neat. So what they're doing is they built this house. They built this tiny house on wheels. And what's funny is inside, it looks like it's huge, but actually inside is fairly small. But they like to go off-roading. So this is a special off-roading truck, and that's a refrigerated cargo box, I guess is what it would be called, that they put on there, and they spent 2 years building this. Well, so then they sold everything they had, and they toured Europe for, I think, 9 months or something, and then they shipped that over here, and they've been touring the US for 6 months, and then their visa is almost up, so they're going to go to Canada, and then when their visas can be renewed here, they're going to come back down and then do the western side of the United States. But it was so funny because they don't speak any English really at all, and so we were like talking on our blah 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 blah. you know, oh,
Well, I was trying to speak directly to them in French, which I wasn't as strong as I thought I was. But then we found that Google works fairly well for most things, although sometimes it's not right. I noticed.
Yeah, so we were using Google Translate for like 8 hours that day. It was so funny. But they're really super nice people, and we had a really good time. And they're just really neat. So they on their channel put us in one of their videos. I couldn't understand anything they were saying, but because it's all in French. But anyway, we had the best. Yeah, you can. Michael, share their channel on there if you want to see them. But they were super nice. It was really fun, and Jack entertained their kids for several hours playing foosball, or baby football as they call it. And their kids didn't speak English either. And I said, well, how did you guys talk? He said, well, I don't know. We just sort of figured out a way to communicate somehow. So it was pretty cool. So, all right. Mike's going to get the rest of your comments and questions, and I'm going to start on the first ones here. Well, first of all, let me remind you guys, our Dining on a Dime cookbooks for Mother's Day sale are 50% off right now if you buy the 2-book set or the 3-book set. This is our gluten-free, dairy-free edition. Or 40% off if you buy the individual books right now.
Oh, there was one other thing. It was interesting as we were talking because there was a lot of common stuff that we didn't expect.
Yeah.
And actually, one thing that they said that was kind of part of what they were trying to do with this trip, is besides experiencing America, was to share with people in France and other places that, what people hear in the media in their country about us isn't accurate. And to kind of give people a real they were trying to create some bond between the people in the two countries, which I thought was pretty amazing.
Well, so what I asked him was, I said, what is the thing about Americans that you found the most surprising? And you know what they said? They said, we thought everybody was morbidly obese and all you did was eat fast food. Like morbidly obese, not just overweight obese. And I thought that was the funniest thing, that they thought everybody was just morbidly obese. So that's how we're portrayed across the world, I guess.
Well, it's funny because I noticed when we've been overseas that what we hear about the countries isn't the same as what we see when we're there.
Yeah.
And that's basically what they were saying about us as well.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
Becca, great birthday surprise. She turned 48 yesterday. Happy birthday, Becca's story. So Colleen turned 48 yesterday. Happy birthday. Amy says since she saw the last live, she has become debt free.
Yay, that's amazing.
Hot dog, you go, girl. We think we're keeping our fingers crossed. I don't know. We may become debt free after the Mother's Day sale. Maybe. We're hoping. We will see.
We're trying to pay the rest of the house.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure that's going to cut it, but we'll see. We're hopeful. We'll see how it goes.
Elaine says, so excited to see Tara's rants. Thank you. Get it together, people. Oh, man, you're going to be seeing a whole lot more get it together, people. Wow. Jim, hello, Jim. And Amazing Grace are happy that we're doing live shows. Thank you, guys.
Yay.
My desk drawer says, remember the good old days when I cooked live. Yes, I had thought about doing live cooking shows on Super Easy Recipes. I haven't decided, my other cooking channel, I haven't decided if I'm going to do that or not.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. Sob says, hey, Mike and Tara, what's the chance it's the chance you get to do live cooking shows again, but on Super Easy? Well, okay, yeah, I had actually thought about doing that, so I don't know. Clara Lowe, she's missed us. Everyone has missed us. Thank you, guys. I am so glad that you have missed us. I don't know if we are going to be doing the live shows or not permanently. We're revamping some things, trying to figure some things out. I have been very worn out and not feeling well. And so I have been doing a lot of medical stuff the last 6 months and found out I had a fungal infection, a systemic fungal infection, and a bacterial infection that I had to be on several weeks worth of antibiotics and a few months worth of antifungals. And so I'm working with that and all of that, doing the hyperbaric oxygen, all that. So I just don't know if I'm going to have the energy. We'll see. Right now, it's just trying to figure out what I can do that's the best. Janet, Shaw Market whole chicken thighs are 97 cents a pound this week. Wow, that's a great deal. I'd stock up. Frosty Gal, what are your top week meals you rotate through usually? So, and I have a problem with doing the cooking shows because we literally eat the same meals all the time and nobody cares. So we have enchilada casserole, tacos, green chili. You can tell we like Mexican food around here. I have chicken with rice, fried chicken, chicken curry, chicken tacos. I'll do barbecue pork. I'll do pork in the green chili also. And so we just rotate through the same 10, 12 meals all the time. And part of the problem is that I'm gluten-free and we're both dairy-free. So it kind of limits us a little bit. As a matter of fact, on my other channel, Super Easy Recipes, I'm getting ready to do more cooking videos. I'm like, who am I going to take all this food to? Because it's like, I can't eat anything at the moment because the doctor has me on a very strict diet, just meat and vegetables. And so I don't know what I'm going to be doing with all these recipes. Thankfully, the school's having two work days. So some of those recipes can go to school to help feed the workers. But yeah, I don't know. That's about trying to think of something different, but we kind of rotate through those same ones. Dixie, I only buy what's on my list, which is for planned meals. Wanda, I miss going to the store and finding the markdowns. No car, so no deliveries. Yeah, that is hard. What are simple meals? Everyone thinks everyone has to be gourmet. What happened to simple meals? Yeah, that's part of the problem, is that people think everything has to be crazy Martha Stewart or something. Like on my recipe channel, somebody commented, oh, what would Martha Stewart say at this? I don't give a flip what Martha says. Martha doesn't have any kids. She's not chronically ill. She's got her own business that she's been running. I don't care. This is my recipes that I cook for when I'm tired and I just need to get some food on the table. This is not a gourmet meal. So people worry about those things and really you shouldn't. So,
well, Martha's basically doing like, ooh, look at this beautiful artsy food thing that you may or may not eat. But it's funny because when in the early days of this, we had watched some of her stuff where she was talking about, didn't she talk about going to Italy to get the mushrooms for a recipe? We're like, yeah, I don't think too many of us are going to be doing that.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Where are we at here? Ooh, boy, you guys got a lot of comments today.
Yay.
That is great. Let's see. I just lost my place though. Just 1 second. Amazing Grace says, my husband started driving a bus for our church and he's working on getting people in his area. He has a young mother come and she got saved this morning. Praise the Lord. Wow, that is great. I'm so glad to hear that. So I'm 38, but I consider you both my surrogate aunt and uncle. I get a lot of good advice and comfort from you guys. Well, thank you. Thanks. I don't know how we provide comfort, but okay. A lot of people don't. Comforting is not a term to describe Tara.
Well, Tara doesn't think of herself as comforting, but people like you, honey.
But comforting?
Well, I mean, you bring stability to people's lives.
That's true. Yeah.
You like people. Well, you're kind to people, even, at times when other people might not be kind to them.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as they can look through the blunt. Tara never sugarcoats anything.
Now, I have been doing much better. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I have been doing much better. Karen says, my store this week had 5 pound bags of flour for 4 pounds bags of sugar for $2.49. So she got 12. Very good. Let's see. Everybody's looking at the ads. Yes, check the ads, guys. That's what you need to do. How long? Sarah wants to know how long do frozen hamburger patties last after the expiration date? I was Googling it. It said 3 to 4 months. Oh, if they're a year old, I would eat them. If they taste a little bit of freezer burned, then add some taco seasoning and you won't even notice. Thank you. I'm so glad everyone has missed us. Karen says that they've also had pork butts for 99 cents a pound. Yep, that's a great deal. I would stock up on that. Frosty Gal, $4.99 a pound for organic ground beef. A good deal. Yeah, I would say that's probably a good deal. Sharon says, I have 3 huge chest freezers full of food. I'm preparing for bad economy for now. Yeah. You know, I've got something to say about the whole tariffs economy thing, but I think I might just do
something to say. Sorry.
A separate video on that. I don't know. Trying to decide. We were thinking about doing more live shows for the next week while we're doing our Mother's Day sale like we used to do. So I'm trying to decide if I want to do that or if I just want to do standalones. But, you know, yeah, I got to say something about those tariffs. Claire says, always put the produce on the conveyor belt first. It takes the cashiers longer to ring up. Hello. That is such a smart idea. Why have I not thought about that? That is great. That's a really good idea. Rhonda says our beef was $2.99. Very good. Yeah.
Wow, that is good.
Wanda, why does the more expensive bread last longer than cheaper breads? Probably because they have more preservatives. I have no idea. That's the only thing I can guess. Debbie, my stores don't have display screens anymore. Wow. Yeah, I don't think ours does either. Walmart doesn't. I think Walmart switched now to that just on the credit card thing. I think, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I have to stand over by the checker to see.
Yeah.
Although I've been going into the self-checkout, which I like it because it's fast, but I'd rather go to a person because I like to go to a person.
Sarah, this is exactly why I don't shop at Walmart. Yeah. So I'm in the UK, they don't clearance food down to 10p at the end of the day anymore. It used to go down only 50% on the day it actually expires, and that's it. They rather throw it away. That's crazy. Next one. Sarah, I need to get back on a budget. I'm trying to get my car paid off. Yeah, get it paid off. I would start, guys, if you are not in just full on ninja mode on getting your stuff paid off, you need to be getting that done. Sue's, Aldi used to be much cheaper than Walmart. Now about the same here too. Yep. Dine at Frugal with Danny says, in Australia, it's not that much cheaper because the other stores are so competitive and don't want to lose the market share. Wow.
Wow.
That's very interesting.
Sounds like Quick Trip.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see. I said somebody asked about mom. Mom is doing really well. She's great. So for those of you who are wondering, I did a video on where she's been and all that, but I guess I didn't make it clear that she's doing fine. So she is doing good.
Yeah. And us guys, we played cards the other day when she was over for Sunday dinner, and us guys beat the girls for a change in the cards. She's always hassled me about that. So,
okay, let's see. Next questions. One thing I did find out actually while I've been doing all this stuff is I went to the allergist and I found out I'm like allergic to everything. So, you know, I've had people complain, Tara, why are you scratching your head and your face so much during the shows? Well, because I'm itching. And so come to find out, it's because I have all these ridiculous allergies. So that was kind of nice to figure out. Not that it does any good to know it, but it was at least nice to figure out. Vicky, prices here in Aldi in Northeast Georgia is cheaper than Walmart. Mickey says in Texas also. Lisa says, I wish there were more sharp shoppers around. No idea what that is, but it sounds like a discount store.
I was going to say, I've never heard that store either.
Yeah. Rachel says, don't you just hate the hidden price thing? Yep, I know. It drives me nuts. Jan, yes, typically milk, eggs, and produce are cheaper. Lane says, what are your thoughts on the whole USDA getting rid of the food dyes argument? Oh, okay.
Uh-oh. What is the argument? We should get rid of them because people think they're unsafe?
Yeah.
I see.
Okay, so here's the thing. You know, I got something to say when I say here's the thing.
Now, Larry, here's the deal. Nobody will remember that.
On the food dice. Susan says, how's your garden going? Susan, we're in Wyoming. There is no garden yet. We had snow last week. We won't have a garden for at least another 6 weeks. So the food dice. Okay, I'm not going to say that the food dice aren't doing anything at all. I was totally against them getting rid of them because I was like, wait, it really doesn't make any difference the other day. But then I heard an argument just yesterday or the day before, and I was like, okay, well, that kind of makes a little bit of sense. Where they were saying how really these food dice have just been added in the last 15 to 20 years. And so even though Fruit Loops and all those Pop-Tarts and all those things were here before, they didn't have the food dyes and stuff in them. So they think that could be part of the problem. So I'm like, okay, well, that kind of makes a little sense. I could see how that could be. But then there's the other side of me that's like, okay, but in my family, we don't really eat that many food dyes because we just eat regular food that I cook at home. So like we might have a box of Fruity Pebbles. That's the only thing I can think that would have red food dye in it. Or maybe if it's in, what would it be in? Red velvet cake. But literally we eat those things like 3 times a year. And I know I made like all those Christmas candies at Christmas that have it in, but guys, we didn't eat the majority of it. As a matter of fact, I probably threw away half the Christmas candies because we just don't eat it.
What are those dyes made of? I thought they were made of.
I have no idea. Petroleum is what they say. They say they're made of petroleum.
Oh, I wonder if there's some kind of carrier in there to make it stick.
I guess. I don't know.
I thought it was.
So here's the thing. I think
in Minecraft, it's crushed up flowers.
It's what?
In Minecraft, you take flowers and you.
I think that it's. I'm on the fence about it, to be honest. I'm on the fence. So anyway,
well,
yeah,
one thing that I guess we don't have enough information to understand why it's a really big deal. Because there are a lot of things that when people say, oh, it's this or that, it's like, for instance, I'm really going to open up a big can of worms too. But when people talk about margarine, and there are YouTubers out there that started the whole rumor, oh, it's one step away from plastic. Well, it's not. The thing is that there's a process called plasticization or something like that, where they apply this process to oil, and it's to give it the thicker consistency, but it's not actually plastic. And the thing is that people don't understand with a lot of chemicals and chemistry, the way that things are made from the chemical reaction, like everything is a chemical. Water and carbon and hydrogen and oxygen are kind of some of the main components in virtually everything. But if you arrange them differently, they can be amazing and healthy and good for you, or they can kill you. And the amazing and healthy has a lot of times the same stuff as the other ones, just organized differently. So when people say stuff where they're just kind of coming out with, oh, it's 2 steps away from plastic, it shows that they just don't have an understanding of chemistry. Now, the thing is, there might be something on the dyes that we don't know about, but I think the probability of being seriously injured by them is probably a lot less than other things that people don't really think about. Like most people don't say, I'm not going to get in my car at all this month, except on the 5th of the month, because I know that most people die in more people die in car accidents than virtually anything else. So it's just things where people don't give the same amount of thought to some of that. So we're not super worried about it, I don't think. But
I'm not. But
if it's something serious, then okay, we could look into that and see. But so far, we haven't heard anything that's that serious, have we?
Well, and part of the problem is I keep hearing all these people talking about, well, I would never eat this processed food or that processed food or whatever processed food. But they're talking about things like box cake mixes or canned pie filling. Well, first of all, we don't eat a ton of that stuff anyway. But my goodness, how much of this stuff are you eating if it's a problem? I don't see that it's a problem eating it once in a while. And so how much are you actually eating? That's why when I use shortening in some of my recipes and people get their knickers all in a bunch, and I'm just like, let me get you a box of X-Lax and help you relax those buns.
Oh.
Because I'm just like, it's shortening. Okay, fine. It'll kill you if you eat the entire tub of shortening every day. But we're talking in a serving of banana bread, you might have 1 teaspoon of shortening. Maybe. It's probably closer to a half a teaspoon. Is that really a big deal? A half a teaspoon is the size of a dime. A teaspoon is the size of a nickel. Really? So, and quite frankly, people are all worked up about this stuff, but they're so stressed out with everything else that's going on in their lives. It's like, maybe you should stop worrying about your food and start cutting some things out of your life, and your stress level will go down and you'll start feeling better. So
Actually, it's interesting because Wanda asked, are TV dinners considered a processed food? I'm having trouble standing to cook right now. And it's funny you ask that, because that's the thing that's concerned with it. I think people should give some thought to the idea that all food that you don't pick off the plant and put it in your mouth right then is processed in some sort of way. If you cook it, you're processing it. If you mix it with something else, you're processing it. That doesn't mean that all processed food is okay. Like some things that are, if they're super highly processed, I think it seems like the doctors are saying that that's not great. But the thing is, just some amount of process, just because it's been processed in some way doesn't mean it's bad. So you got to be careful when people talk about processed food. Now, if they're meaning like highly processed food, super processed, where they're mixing up a bunch of strange stuff, maybe that's bad and maybe it's not. But a lot of times the stuff is like plant. A lot of times, if you look at some of those ingredients, we were looking at some the other day and they have weird names, and we look them up, and what is it? It's part of a plant.
Well, and like, I mean, if you're eating a bag of Cheetos every day and one lady told me she was downing 2 liters of soda every day. 4 liters of soda. If that's the kind of stuff you're eating, yeah, you got a problem. But we've probably bought Cheetos maybe 10 times in 30 years.
It won't kill you to eat Cheetos sometimes. It's probably not healthy to eat Cheetos every day. Same thing with soda, really. It's okay to have, like, we'll have a soda sometimes on a holiday. We're pretty rare on them, but Tara will buy them when they're dirt cheap on, like, at Thanksgiving or something. And then that's pretty much it.
I don't buy it again until they go on sale. So
eating some of that is okay. Just eating too much of it is the problem. But back to your question, though, on the TV dinners. Interestingly, Wanda, I was looking at TV dinner boxes recently because they're frozen dinners. I was like, why would you need to put a lot of? People were talking about preservatives
when we were doing the factor comparison.
It's going to kill you because of all the additives and preservatives. I look at it at Marie Callender's particularly, and because I was thinking, why would you need to put preservatives in if you freeze it? So I look on there, and sure enough, no preservatives.
And it was just normal stuff.
So Wanda, I would say, I mean, you could look at, if you're worried about it, you can look at the label and see what it says. But I would say dinners that are frozen are probably not full of a lot of other stuff, because the reason freezing itself kills the bacteria.
But put this in perspective.
Well, it doesn't kill it. It makes it dormant until you cook it.
She cannot stand to cook.
Yeah.
Eat or don't eat. I'm sorry, but I would rather have you eating TV dinners and saving your energy for something else and eating moderate proportions and adding in an apple or an orange or some broccoli, some frozen broccoli or cauliflower or whatever, and being able to do things like, clean your house. with what little energy you have than to be sitting there cutting up a salad for every dinner. I mean, it's just ridiculous. The thing is, people have just gotten so ridiculous with all of this. I'm just about had it with people and food. It's like, my goodness, you literally can't eat anything.
Well, and again, if you eat, the biggest problem is overeating. And what we've noticed is in our own lives, people that we know personally, some of the people that are the most really insistent about chemicals in food and pesticides and dyes and everything else, and they say, I would never put that in my mouth, but they're 350 pounds.
You're putting something in your mouth.
What I'm thinking, no, I'm not trying to be mean, but what I'm saying is being extremely overweight is a lot more, there's probabilities that something is going to kill you. And ultimately something is going to kill you. But the thing is, there are probabilities that this thing is the thing. And the probability of being really overweight is a lot greater than the probability of whether or not that's organic broccoli or not. Well, okay, so I don't know about broccoli, but anyway.
No, but you do better to eat 1,500 calories of TV dinners a day and lose the weight than to worry about all these additives in your food.
And I've also
noticed, do better to eat 1,500 calories worth of Twinkies a day.
Well, also a lot of the people we know that are very, very specific about like talking about chemicals and additives and stuff in your food and posting stuff on social media and doing all that all the time. A lot of those same people eat out all the time. And if you eat out, you have no idea what they're doing with that. And they're probably going to Walmart and getting stuff and making the food out of it. So I would just not be too obsessed about it. I would say if you eat less, that's the biggest thing.
Oh my word. Tanya just said, read a study done in Italy where chicken is not healthy, causes cancer. So no red meat now. So no red meat, now chicken. What next? Exactly. I'm telling you, I'm thinking about going on a ding dong and ho ho diet. Would that not just take the cake if I lost all the weight I need to lose by going on a ding dong and ho ho diet? How many calories is in a ho ho? Calories.
Well, and eat toujours, because a couple people have mentioned about.
I could eat 10 ho hos a day.
A number of people have mentioned about increased autism. The thing is, they don't really know. I mean, it's fine if you're concerned about autism and you're trying to cut back. I don't know, what would it be? Giving it to your children that would cause autism if it's true?
Well, here's the thing.
The thing
is it increasing or do we just know about it more?
Well, and I don't think that they know yet. That's the main thing. And there are things that people think are the case. And, you know, if there's a reason that you're particularly concerned, maybe that'd be good. But the thing is, there are a lot of things where they say, because the thing with the autism right now, I don't think they have a lot of good science on understanding for sure what causes that. There's just a lot of things that it's kind of like, I think there's probably more science on autism than radon. But like with radon, I noticed that we have radon mitigation in our house. We had it in Colorado. And I'm thinking we might as well. There are things that it would be hard to sell the house if you didn't have it. And there's some concern. But the thing is that when I was looking at it, they said they thought with radon, it may exposure to it in large quantities for like 30 years or something might cause you to have a 1 in 100,000 chance of dying from it. At the time when I was looking, and I was thinking, well, that doesn't sound like it's clear that that's the issue. And I think that's the thing with some of the stuff with the autism is that I haven't seen enough science to think we know for sure what causes it. It's fine if you want to cut those things out. I think there are other things sometimes that people worry about in a greater way. And some of that stuff too, because they might have made the dyes out of different things then, but they've had a lot of food things since the 1950s. So if we're saying we're having autism in the recent, I don't know, how many years is it, 10 or 20 years or something like that? Why wasn't it there earlier than that?
But see, yeah, and I'm not so sure if it's not that something's happening or if it's just being diagnosed more. I mean, I'm sorry, but every single person on this planet has some sort of mental issue. They do. And it's just a matter of before 2010 or so, I don't know when it stopped, 2000 to 2010, somewhere around there, stuff flipped to where everything is evolved around everyone's mental illnesses and mental things. Where before, yeah, there were some people who had really bad mental illnesses. I get that. But you learned to deal with it. You figured out how to cope. You figured out how to work around it. And you just kept going on with life. And you learn these things. And so part of it, I have to wonder if it's just that we are seeing it more. I don't know. I'm just saying that's my theory. I don't know. But somebody on here said, and it went away, so I can't find it, but she said, oh, Karen says, well, cancer is coming from somewhere. So where is it coming from? Honestly, I think cancer is coming from the fact that we can just diagnose it better now. Because I know specifically of 2 homesteading people. They never ate any of that stuff. They grew all their own food. They canned everything. They had their own cows. They had their own chickens. They had their own pigs. They did not put any of that junk in their body. And the moms died of cancer and aggressive cancers when they were 30 years old. Cancer, I don't think it's caused by the foods. I think it's just that you can diagnose it better. Now, is it possible that, if you eat a real, like Suzanne Summers, she ate this really clean diet and all of this, and that helped her cancer go down and some of that? Well, it might be, but she still ended up dying from cancer, as far as I remember. So yeah, it may prolong your life or something like that. Now, this is just my 2 cents. I am not a medical doctor. This is just my observations from a mom with common sense. But a lot of these cancers, you didn't screen for colon cancer. You didn't screen every single person for colon cancer until about 15, 20 years ago.
Well, and really, it's only been it's been since 2008, roughly, when people started to think we can cure everything. And at that point, there's such a huge focus on medical things. And that's when they were talking about Obamacare and all that. And I just think that there's a whole lot more intensity about going to the doctor a lot and stuff. So, and studying things. And so I think some of that, like my grandmother had cancer in the 80s, and it was still pretty undetected in a lot of people in those days. But it doesn't mean they didn't have it. They just didn't know about it till later. So I think that there's...
And it's very possible some of these things could be causing it. I'm not saying that's not true, but you do have to take into effect that everyone is looking for these things. And like somebody on here said, Penn said, my dad was born in 1924, an accomplished man, a World War II vet. I was explaining it to him. I think she's meaning autism. And he said, oh, blankety blank, I have that. Exactly. You figured out how to work around it, and you just kept going until you figured out what you could do to work with it, to live a normal life. And so I'm not saying that I'm not a medical professional. This is just me looking on the outside. But it just seems like the medical care field has just exploded. Well, and I don't know. And even like me, now I'm thinking about going to a neurologist, and I'm like, do I really want to do this or do I not? I don't know. And so anyway.
I would, something interesting though. So Anonymous says from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 30 is a huge leap in autism. yes, that would be true if it's true. But it could be 1 in 10,000 were diagnosed before.
Yeah.
And now 1 in 30 are diagnosed and a whole bunch of people were not diagnosed.
Yeah.
Or it could be that just because something is increased and bad doesn't mean that something else is the cause of it. So if you go to, if you're on the verge of getting sick and you don't know you're getting sick and you go to a Mexican restaurant and you eat it and you get sick, then you say, oh, that Mexican restaurant, Mexican food makes me sick. Well, you have to go through a certain testing kind of thing to figure out if that's what really made you sick. Because in that case, it's not. So assuming, well, first of all, what we're saying is we don't really know. And we're not medical people. So, I mean, we're not doctors. But as far as evidence that people share, we haven't seen a lot. Doesn't mean it's not out there. But the thing is, it's unclear whether it's more of an incidence or whether it's being detected more. But let's say it is more of an incidence. Still, it's important to understand what the cause of it is. Because if you say it's one thing, but you don't have good science on it, then you might find that it's something else and you've been treating the wrong thing all along. You know, there was a time where I was having a dietary problem. I wasn't sure what it was. I was feeling bad a lot. And at some point I persuaded myself, because I realized that the common denominator I thought in a lot of the foods that were causing me trouble was MSG. So I was like, I can't eat MSG. I can't eat MSG. And for a while I was really focused on that. And one day I accidentally had something with MSG in it and I didn't get sick. And I realized, oh, I might have miscalculated here on what was causing this problem. And the reason it's important to know that is if you blame a problem on one thing and you don't really know, then you might not look for the thing that's actually causing the problem. Now, in this case, if there's a lot of concern about it, I would say for them to study it, do some research and see. If they kind of isolate a lot of other causes, they might be able to figure out that it's true. This is what I'm saying. But I hate to assume it's true and just stop eating something completely without knowing for sure. Because there's a lot of stuff that people say on the internet that's not true. And there's a lot of stuff people say on the news that's not true. But the only way to know for sure is to actually do a real study where you isolate a lot of variables out so you can see if the one thing is actually causing something.
All right, before we get to the next round of comments, Dining on a Dime cookbooks are on sale up to 50% off if you buy the sets, guys, 40% off individually. Volume 1 is where you want to start if you can just get one. Volume 2 is just a continuation of Volume 1. All new recipes and tips, easy recipes to get you in and out of the kitchen quick. This is our Dining on a Dime cookbook that is gluten-free, dairy-free. And all these recipes are ingredients that you already have on hand. And easy to cook. Your family will love the recipes. Give it a try. You can go see every single recipe in our book on our sales page, guys. So we have every single page. It flips through and you can just stop the video and watch and look there. All right. Layla says, wait a minute. Okay, I'll get these comments in just a minute. Let me go back to the other ones that I had missed. Whew, didn't mean to get on that rabbit trail of dyes. Okay, I warned you guys. I warned you.
Well, some people were talking about like if your doctor says, hey, try cutting these things out for your kids and seeing how they behave, do it. Like we've done stuff like that where we're thinking, let's try going on an elimination diet and then adding things back. And Tara found out she's got a problem with gluten. I found out dairy, although I've got a blood test that also said dairy. So there you go. Yeah.
Crystal, do you buy water? No. For 90% of the country, buying water is a ridiculous waste of money. Kelly has all 3 books and they are the only ones you will ever need. Thank you, Kelly. And Jan says, oh, it's time for another Tara rant. Yeah. Sarah, is there a bread recipe in the cookbooks? Yes, we have bread recipes in all 3, and they are all delicious and all tested. And we even have gluten-free, dairy-free in there. That's very delicious. Vicky says, our refrigerator compressor went bad after 2 years. Yeah, 2 months? Mine went bad after 2 months? That's ridiculous. Oh, yeah. All right. Sarah, what brand of refrigerator do you have so we can stay away? Whirlpool and Amana, which I'm told are made by the same company, but literally, I don't think you can buy any appliance and have a guarantee that it will work, except for a Bosch dishwasher. That's the only appliance that people said good things about consistently. Everything else that we researched, I am not exaggerating. At this point, I would pay $10,000 to have a refrigerator for the rest of my life, which we probably will be pretty soon. But I would do that if I had a refrigerator that would just keep working. It's ridiculous. I can't believe it. So anyway. Okay, let's see. Jim, make appliances great again. Yeah, I know. My son keeps saying, Mom, I'm going to make Jack's appliances that work. And I said, I will buy every single one of your stock.
Actually, it's funny because on the last refrigerator, the boys and I were talking, and I asked Pistol about it. Then he said that there are regulations in the government that prohibit you from doing it. But I was thinking, what would be the problem with making a room in your house and putting a waterproof liner on the interior and having the refrigeration equipment on the roof, like some places do with their air conditioners and stuff? And he basically said making your own homemade one would be a problem. But I thought that would be a great way, because then all that would be up there and the cold would be in the box. But our boys they've been like really trying to figure out how to be mad scientists with the fridge.
Well, and going back to this, yeah, that's what I thought. Going back to all of this cancer and all of this stuff, the average life expectancy in the 1900s was to live to 47 years. The average life expectancy now is 72 years. And I think a lot of it is we just have a whole lot better medical care now. Well, we used to.
Well,
I'm starting
probably
to
better
question
access
it,
to food and
better food and all that kind of stuff. So then you live
that.
longer and you get more diseases and stuff.
Well,
all
that's
right.
true too, because it used to be that. Because I mean, when I was a kid, it seemed like a lot of the adults that I knew of, they were 60s when they died. And it's funny because in movies we see people that they look like they're about 75 in the movies, and they're like, yeah, I've only been, he'll say something about how, yeah, a 40-year-old guy like me, and Turner, like, he's 40. And it's
looks
really
like he's 60 or 70.
in a lot of the older movies we've seen, that's not uncommon.
Yeah. Let's see. Wanda needs a whole house exorcism. Yeah. Alice, on a side note, what happened to the friend you were helping declutter? I'm really curious about how it went. Well, I spent about 50 hours helping her, and then she kind of got to a point where she was getting overwhelmed and decided to have me stop coming over to help her. And so I was like, okay, that's fine. Ladybug, I would love it if you started a Bible study. Well, Mike has thought about doing a channel on that.
I actually shot some videos, but I just haven't had a chance to edit them yet. But I was trying to get ahead of them before trying to actually publish them.
Texas Gadget Gal says, I found a second edition, Not Just Beans. Inside cover had Tara's signature. It also had Not Just Beans business card and note. Thank you for using my recipe in your article. I hope you enjoy the book, Tara. I wonder which newspaper or blogger I sent that to. That's funny.
Good question.
Wow. We sent out over, oh my goodness, we probably sent out, 1,000 review copies?
When we were in Idaho?
When we were in Idaho, and since that whole time, I mean. But yeah. We sent out just 400 alone when the book first came out in Idaho. Let's see. Do I make soap anymore? Yes, occasionally I do. As a matter of fact, I was just over here looking at my soap cutter as I'm on the show thinking, man, I really miss making soap.
I'm still using the soap.
Yeah, I have like 300 pounds of soap right now.
Woohoo.
And I keep giving it all away. I probably took 10, 15 pounds to my sister-in-law when we went back to Missouri last week. And then I have a kid who has left us to go work somewhere else, and they took probably 20 pounds with them. So yeah, Claire says Martha has her own problems, not to mention a full-time staff. Yeah, no kidding me.
I mean, she's good at what she does. It's just not the same. She's not making food for families on a budget. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Cindy, with your health challenges in mind, have you seen the big benefits that come from GLP-1s? Very interesting.
What are GLP-1s?
The semaglutide.
Oh, what
Don't
is
say
it?
anything.
She says about that?
In microdoses for fibromyalgia and CFS, there are studies showing they are great with reducing inflammation. We are actually shooting a video for that on Monday.
We are?
Not about the CFS and fibromyalgia, but Mike and I tried those, and I was going to tell you our experience, but I have not heard about it for the fibromyalgia and the CFS. That is very interesting. Huh. Trina, on keto, just remember, once you hit your goal weight, the goal is not to stay on keto for the rest of your life. You have to have a balanced amount of certain carb afterwards. Yeah. Let's see. You can send me the next ones. Lane says, 15 years ago, I was in government housing with a super low income and food stamps, and in a couple months, my house will be paid off. Oh my goodness.
What?
Girl, you are my poster child. Thank you. This is the point that I'm trying to get across. She said 15 years ago, she was on government housing with a super low income and food stamps, and in a couple of months, her house will be paid off.
That's the living on a dime to grow rich. When we added to grow rich, that was the
That's
goal.
Why.
To help people.
Oh my goodness. Actually,
go from the one place to the other place.
I should interview you because
isn't it encouraging to like have that control over your own stuff?
I have to tell you, this is really, I don't know if this is my 2025 bee in my bonnet or what, but I am on a high horse, soapbox, whatever you want to call it.
What? You?
That if people would just start making good choices, they don't have to say in the septic tank that they have created for themselves. And I was just literally 2 minutes before I had to come on the show, I was finishing up a video on this mom in poverty. And I had watched this video for 1 hour and 15 minutes. Research. Thank you very much. But I was sitting and they were talking about this mom who has 3 kids. Did you send me the next ones?
I did.
Okay. This mom who has 3 kids and how it was so horrible. And she was the nicest lady. She was the absolute nicest lady. But I was watching the video and I was like, lady, seriously. So her husband left. They were separated. They weren't divorced. Okay, that's fine. He had an addiction of something. Okay, that's fine. But she had 3 little kids. I think that they were all like probably 5 or 6 and under. But she had no money to pay her bills. Her husband lived, I think it was 4 hours away, and she was having to pay his gas money to come and pick up the kids to visit him. But here's the thing. She had, I counted at least 3 or 4 tattoos on her body. They were on food stamps, but they were all drinking soda. And they had pre-made biscuits. And they had just got a new puppy. And then her coworker was like, you're just doing so much for your kids and all this. You need to just go do something for your hair for yourself. So she went to go get her hair done. And I can't remember, but it was $70 or $80 to get her hair dyed. And then later in the video, it's dyed again. So then she moves out of her trailer house so her ex-husband or her husband can move into there, and she moves in with her boyfriend. And she's not even divorced yet, and she's wondering why she has problems. And she seemed like the nicest, she was a CNA, she seemed like the nicest, caring lady. But she keeps making all of these bad choices, and then she can't pay her bills. Now, I will say she was making $9 an hour. Yeah. How are you supposed to pay your bills with $9 an hour? But with the little amount of money that you have, at least make good choices with the little amount of money you have.
I do think a lot of people don't seem to know what good choices are. But
I don't know how to show them what good choices are. How do you show people what good choices are?
Well, I don't know, because a lot of people, some people have learned, but it's amazing how many people have heard what we've said all along and have still not learned. But the thing is, if the whole bottom of your bucket is missing, putting more water in isn't going to help. Like, you just have to stop spending money if you don't have money. And if you have money, still good to not spend money if you have some more useful purpose. Like right now, we've been aggressively trying to pay off our house ever since we moved here. We paid off our previous house, but here we ended up with the bigger one because it has a separate building for our business. And we've been aggressively paying on that. We could be spending the money to do other things and just kind of going hog wild, but then we would still have that debt forever. But for people in rough situation, like, because we used to be in a rough situation. If you haven't been here for a while, like, we've gone from virtually no money and having no refrigerator or freezer and storing our food outside in the winter.
And eating meat that a cat had already gotten into.
We've gone from that, and Tara even had harder times when she was younger, to, having a nice house, all of our debts paid off except the house, which is almost paid off. But that's kind of what we're trying to inspire in everyone is take whatever situation you have and make good choices consistently over and over, and your situation will get better. It'll get so much better than if you say somebody should do something, meaning like the government, because the government doesn't care about you. They say they do, but they don't. So doing things, making good decisions for yourself to improve your life is the thing that will make your life better. And it'll be so much faster than trying to rely on someone else. So yeah, but as far as other people, I think some people just don't want to change. Like, some people complain about the bad situation they're in, but they like it too much to let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So thankfully, a lot of you have made good choices for a long time and have improved. And if you're new here and you haven't, you're totally welcome to jump on board.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, I'm all for helping people. Unfortunately, believe it or not, I have a soft heart for people who are suffering. So I try to help people a lot. But what we've discovered in doing this business for the last 25 years is that, first of all, the majority of people don't want to learn how to save money.
They just want other people to fix it. Actually, sorry, I'm going to take a quick side trip to what she's saying because it supports what she's saying. We can see on the internet what people search for. And at one point we were trying to figure out, what do people want to search for about getting out of debt? Because we thought we can make material to help them learn to get out of debt by understanding what they think their problem is. And there were virtually nobody was searching the internet for how do I pay off my debt. They were searching for how to get my debt forgiven, how to refinance my debt. And what we realized is the majority of people don't want to be out of debt. They just don't want to feel like the debt is causing them a problem in their day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll help. I will help people. But, and I'll give you second and third chances and all of that. But for me personally, when I help people personally, not just on here, but like I was helping one person declutter. And it went back to what it was. Okay. We'll do it again. No, you've had some medical issues. Okay. But then as you start getting into it, well, but I don't want to give up this. I don't want to give up that. Well, I think you're just being judgmental, which if you guys watched my last video, I talked about this. And I will help and help. But once you've decided you're not going to actually try to improve your situation, I'm done. I'm not going to help you anymore. I will give you 2 chances, maybe 3 if I really feel that you're repentant and you truly want to change your ways. But like my story with the ant, when, if you guys want to hear that story, you can go back, and it would have been February. Let's see, it would have been like February 2nd, I think, or 3rd of 2020. It was when my dad died. And it's called When an Estranged Parent Dies, I think. And I tell the story about my aunt. I helped her and helped her and helped her. And kept go back. Okay, I'll help you again. Went back one more time, helped you again. But then I found out she'd been lying to me. So even though I went back and helped her, she'd been lying straight to my face. Had absolutely no remorse at all. Was not remorseful, was not repentant at all. And then turned around and trying to blame it on me. I'm done. I am done. I don't care if you're a family member. I don't care how much you supposedly love me. I am done. And this woman harassed me. My goodness, how long was it? 2-3 years? About 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
At least 3 years. To the point where she forced her way into my house to force me to forgive her. I was like, I've already forgiven you. I don't even care about that, but I don't trust you, and I'm not having anything to do with someone who is going to purposely lie to my face, and then they don't even have the courtesy to apologize after using me. Sorry, it ain't going to happen. And so part of the problem is people just, they do know. They do know. They just want to be in control and refuse to do anything to change their situation. So, or it's like these women who, never mind. Okay. Did you sent me the next one?
I sent you, yeah, I've got another one now too. Well, also, I think what we've tried to sort of figure out with people that we know personally, and or people that ask us for help on the internet stuff, there's a point where if you try to help somebody and there's an excuse for every bad decision and no recognition at, oh, this could be causing my problem, then we realize, oh, you don't really want to get out of debt. You just want to be able to talk about how bad things are. It's kind of like I had somebody asking me a bunch of Bible questions one time, and I was talking to him for a long time when I should have probably been working or something. But I was like, okay, I'll answer your questions. And we were talking about it. And eventually I realized, wait, you don't really want to know. You just want to try to figure out how to disprove it. And I'm thinking, I'm not here to debate this with you. Like, I'll tell you. And if you don't want to believe, that's your choice. And it's a similar kind of thing I think we figured out with people. If we try to help somebody and you realize, oh, they don't really want help. They just want people to feel bad for their situation. And that point, I'm like, oh, okay, well, sorry, things are bad for you. Goodbye. Just because there's a point where you realize you're just banging your head on the wall. And I think we've realized that I'm not thinking so much on the money thing at the moment, but in other ways where we've tried to help people in real life, we realize, oh, certain people are clearly interested in changing and certain ones aren't. And I think a lot of people realize their problem is somehow connected to choices they're making, but they just don't want to change. It's funny because we talked to somebody who does DoorDash driving in our town who said that the people that order it the most are people that they're making practically minimum wage.
On food stamps.
And food stamps, go figure, food stamps actually subsidizes people to get DoorDash.
Which I'm okay with if you are so disabled you can't get to the grocery store. I'm okay with that.
I say food stamps. It's some sort of a food card.
You need to prove that you cannot get out of your house to go to the grocery store.
DoorDash is where people in our town don't want to drive 4 or 5 blocks to McDonald's to buy the food for $10, which is ridiculously expensive now. So instead they get DoorDash to do it, and they spend $30. And the same people that he was talking about were telling him about how they're going down and gambling at the casino to try to get more money for their bills. And it's just, I think sometimes people they maybe recognize that their decisions are part of the problem, but just that thought of, I'm going to win this time. I was actually, okay, so sorry, I didn't mean to get off on a big rabbit trail. I was actually in a convenience store when we were on our trip, and there was a lady that was taking a little longer, and she apologized, and the lady at the counter apologized and was like, I'm just standing here, so it's not bothering me. But she bought like $40 worth of lottery tickets and scratch tickets, and she scratched them all, and she got $2 on one of them. She's like, yay, I finally won one. And I was thinking, yeah, but you spent $40 and you won $2. I didn't tell her that, but that was what was going on in my mind. Is the logic is just not quite connecting there. And because I know, again, okay, I'm still going on the rabbit trail. When I used to spend way too much on credit cards when I was in college and right out of college, there's a point where I realized, mainly because I maxed out a credit card and I couldn't get another one, I thought, oh, now I have to pay for this and I don't get to use it anymore. I don't get to get this stuff, but I have to pay for this stuff. And I was kind of upset about it. And I wanted to be mad at somebody. And eventually there's this part of me that I realized, oh, I should be mad at me.
Yeah.
Because I'm the one that stole it from myself.
So actually, I just take back everything I said. Laura said, I'm disabled and can't get to the grocery store, but DoorDash is crazy expensive. I do Walmart plus delivery. Yeah, I take back everything I said. I don't even think you should do DoorDash if you're just so disabled you can't get out of the house, which I take that back, because there are things like Walmart plus delivery, which is way cheaper. $13 a month is way cheaper than one delivery from DoorDash.
I was shocked that they paid for that, because when I was working at a grocery store, there were restrictions on the stuff you could buy.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Susan, how's my garden going? So I know I alluded to this a little bit, but it's Wyoming. We had snow last week. We are not going to have a garden. I'm not going to have a garden until at least another month, probably 6 weeks. I do have a few plants started in the house, But I don't know. I keep going back and forth. Every year that we've been here, I've gotten hailed out. The last 10 years in Colorado, we've had hail. So now I'm sitting here thinking, because we're going to have to put up a new fence to keep the deer and the rabbits out, which is probably going to be a few $100. Although I got fencing. Oh, did you see the fencing in the back of the car today? I forgot to tell you guys. I need to get it out.
Yeah. Well, Jack said, should we take this out of the car? I'm like, I have no idea what it's here for.
So I did find some fencing at the restore, and I got that. But I'm like, do I want to spend a few $100 to maybe get $150 worth of tomatoes? I don't know. So I'm trying to decide if I even want to put in a vegetable garden or just give up. I do have flowers started, so I'll let you know. But anyway, okay, you can send me the next one. Let's see. Claire, yeah, the only thing we have is food dye and medicine. Yeah, although you can get that without food dye too, I guess. Alice, we know Mike dabbles with cooking, but do the kids cook? Actually, do they grab your book and surprise you? Oh, sorry. Did that come out of me? No, my children have never, ever grabbed a book and surprised me. I don't think my children want anything to do with it, to be honest. No. But none of my children have wanted to learn to cook. Ellie, when she was learning to cook, she would go Google every recipe we had in the book and make it off the internet. And I was like, well, Mom's got a pretty good book, got a very good recipe in her cookbook if you want to try it. And she's like, oh, Mother. And Jack has showed an interest in cooking, so we might have him do that. Now, having said that, when Dave and BJ and Ellie were home as young adults, they pretty much cooked all their own meals, and I just cooked for Jack and Mike and I. Sometimes one of them would join us, but yeah. Katie says, my blueberry coffee cake is amazing. Thank you. Dining on a Dime cookbooks, guys, are up to 50% off if you buy the sets. They're 50% off. That includes the 3-book set with our gluten-free, dairy-free also, or 40% off individually for Mother's Day sale. Grab them, guys. I don't know if the tariffs are going to affect us. Our books are printed in South Korea, so I don't know if they're going to affect us or not. At the moment, it doesn't look like it, but I cannot make any guarantees. So I don't know what is going to happen with pricing. So if you want to get a good deal, grab it right now.
It'll take me just a second.
Let's see. Okay. Oh, and somebody said something about there's red dye in yogurt. Yeah, but we don't even eat yogurt.
Well, I think she's just talking about other people.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, we don't even eat that kind of stuff. So I can't, the only thing I could think of is Fruity Pebbles, which is only, oh my goodness, a few times a year. Maybe cough syrup. But I don't notice we have a problem with it when it happens. So I don't know. Deborah says she has all 3 books and she loves them. Thank you, Deborah. I'm so glad you like them. Tanya, be going out to eat more. Going to get back on track. Good for you. Laura says, my grandmother lived to be 95, my mom 98, and they have a normal weight and ate processed non-organic food all the time. Yeah, that's my grandma's going to be 97 next week. And that's all she's eaten for her entire life is processed foods. Literally processed foods her entire life. All of my grandmothers were like, yes, we don't have to can food anymore. I didn't have one grandmother that canned, well, except my great-grandmother, but she hated canning and she only canned her peaches because her peach tree was excellent peaches. So she did can peaches, but that was it. She didn't can anything else. Miriam, would paying weekly towards the mortgage versus paying once a monthly save on interest in the long run? Yes, it would. As a matter of fact, I saw a thing that said one time that you will save a month's worth of interest every year if you do that. So I think that's still true, but I don't know. Ancient Egypt has documented cases of cancer. Yep. Let's see.
One thing on that, paying the mortgage, if you pay in 4 segments, I think that does help. But if you should decide to pay extra on your mortgage, then make sure that all of the extra goes to principal. Like if you're breaking up your payment into 4 payments, then you would want to apply that to your payment. But if you're, let's say you're spending, you come into $2,000 extra somehow, your tax refund or some kind of thing happens, then you want to put, if you want to put that on your house to pay off your house, you would want to put that $2,000 on additional principal.
Yeah,
because
sure it's additional principal.
if you call the mortgage company, they'll advise you to just add it to your payment, which means that you won't have a payment for a month or so, or however long you're.
Yeah. Eclair says,
and that doesn't work.
The nice thing about Tara's cookbooks is that they are the ingredients that are commonly available most anywhere. And I will add cheap also. So thank you very much for that. So Tara, you look exhausted in the nicest way possible. You look tired. Yes, I'm very tired. So we're having this quandary. We're having a fight between Super Easy Recipes and Living on a Dime at the moment. At Christmas, Super Easy Recipes took over Living on a Dime and is actually making more money than Living on a Dime. But Living on a Dime is still doing fairly well. So we hate to just give it up. But it is very difficult to put out 6 to 8 videos every week. So trying to decide what we're going to do with that. Then I haven't been feeling that great. The doctor has put me on this ridiculous diet to try and help kill the fungus in my body. So I can only eat meat and vegetables and some blueberries. And so I can't eat anything good. I blew my diet only one day on our vacation. I actually did very well. And then I ran out of food. And so I did blow my diet one day, but man, I felt it the next day yesterday when it all hit me. So it is good to be on, but I'm not healed by any stretch of the imagination, but I am starting a new more supplements to try. Glutathione. I've been getting the glutathione IV shots and they help me a lot, but they only last 24 hours. Been doing the hyperbaric oxygen and it helps me a lot, but it only lasts 24 hours. So I alternate those 2 once a week, but the IV, I only have one vein they can get, only one vein. And this poor thing is worn out from doing IVs for the last 6 months every week. So yeah. So anyway, Claire says, get an industrial commercial refrigerator. Actually, that's something we hadn't thought about.
I've thought about it.
That's a good idea. Our Life says, what do you think about genetic testing? Is it worth trying? So I have this thing about genetic testing. No, I don't want my genetics out there, but I did get genetic testing. And if I wouldn't have gotten genetic testing, I wouldn't have found out that I have the MTHFR gene, which causes me not to absorb B vitamins. And when I found that out and started taking the B vitamins, I started feeling significantly better. I went from being completely bedridden to just being worn out and exhausted all the time. So I could at least get up and do the dishes and stuff like that. So, if you have something major, yeah, it maybe could, but all right. Sharon, thank you so much. She just bought our book set. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Bounty of Badlands, living below the so-called poverty line does not mean you live in poverty if you make the right choices. Thank you. I have probably lived below the poverty line 30 or 35 of my years of my life. And yet we didn't live in squalor ever. Growing up, we never lived in squalor. When Mike wasn't earning that much, I wasn't doing as much with the business then, but I went to garage sales, but I found nice stuff. I made sure we had nice clothes. So yeah.
Well, it's funny too, because there's a point where, I don't know, just didn't have it together. We lived in a remote part of Idaho and I wasn't making a lot of money at the job there. And we found so many things just by looking out for them that were pretty much free or super cheap. Like obviously the cheap would be garage sales and things like that, but we would find, I think we've talked about this before, but like things for the garden, like the wood chips to do the garden stuff and various other things that that were just left on the side of the road, or somebody had thrown it away or something, or we're just giving it away. And I noticed if we kept our eyes out, we were able to, even when we had very little income at the time, we still had the amount of stuff that was greater than our income because we were just looking out for opportunities as they came.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying about that is it just means that if you're struggling in a situation and you're having trouble figuring out one thing, if you figure out another thing, you can maximize.
Well, and Kayla says, my mom raised me on food stamps and we are now in our second bought house, make lemonade from lemons. Yeah, like that lady I was just talking about on the video that I watched. They were drinking soda. Why was she not buying canned foods instead of soda? So that when she lost her food stamps, she would have food in the house. Instead of buying the pre-made biscuits, make a batch of biscuit dough. I know she's a tired mom of 3. I get that. But don't have biscuits. Just have plain bread and jam. So you can take that money and use it for other things. It's just, I don't know. Yeah. Amazing Grace. I don't think they realize they're making bad choices. Yeah, I think you're right. I just don't know how to show them that they're making bad choices.
Well, I do think that some people don't realize they're making bad choices. And then when you show them that they're making bad choices, they don't want to hear that. It's kind of like, I heard a story about if you have this brilliant idea and you're going to strike out and take some risks and do something amazing. It's like somebody who goes over and like people in a town that never leave the town, and they always talk about wishing there was something better. But you go up on this hillside and you're like, whoa, there's this amazing shining city over there. But everyone else is afraid to try to see it because then they might have to go check it out. So they just tell you, no, you're ridiculous. That's impossible. You'll never be able to do that. And I think it's kind of that way. People feel afraid. Okay, you've made me realize I'm doing something here to cause my problem. But that makes me feel bad about myself. So instead of trying to change, I'm just gonna say you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about.
You're being judgmental.
I'm doing fine in my life. Yeah, judgmental is a big one.
You're being judgmental.
People love saying the word judgmental when they realize, wait, I'm doing this. You have shared something with me that made me realize I'm doing something irresponsible in my life. It's not, wow, I should change and improve. It's you're being judgmental. And I'm not saying not everybody, because some people, they, like one lady told us, well, I added up all the receipts and I realized my husband and I were spending $30,000 a year in eating out. And she said, I felt sick about it. But she didn't say, no, that's ridiculous. We're not doing that. She changed because she had that realization. And that's the thing is, if you're willing to change, you can make your life a lot better.
Jan says, common sense, my home, which I inherited, it's paid off. I owned a house in a neighboring state close to my son. Planned in a few years to sell my current home, quit working, and move into that other house. Good job. Kimberly says, hello from Australia. I'm watching with my 4-year-old Shauna. Hello, Shauna. We were surprised to see your live shows on. Thank you. Valley of the Badlands star is called Tough Love. I have a sister whose my parents kept bailing out once they were gone. I did try once to help her. Once was enough. No more enabling. Yep. And Alice says we have helped her a lot. Thank you. Can you send it to me?
And the problem with enabling too, sorry, Mike's taking over again. The problem with enabling too is if you bail people out, you're not really doing them any favors, because if something happens to you, then they're just going to crash real hard. And so, yeah, bailing people out and enabling is really bad for that reason. So if it's painful to hold them accountable, I mean, you're not doing them any favors by just giving them stuff. Go ahead.
Elizabeth says, Tara, did you think about charging the woman you helped declutter? No, because she was a friend. So I was helping a friend out. Which I have learned that now, because I'm helping actually another friend, same thing. But I've learned now that when I help someone, when I leave, there is a list of things that will need to be done before I will come back. If they aren't done, I'm not coming back. From the very first time. There's no second chances. I mean, like, Like if you don't get it done the first time, unless you're laying in the hospital, and I know that you've been in the hospital or something, I'm not going to come back and do it again, because I just learned that if people don't want to take the steps to keep moving forward with things like that, they're not going to keep up with it. So yeah. Okay. Next one is Kathy, maybe a greenhouse. Yes, we had thought about building a greenhouse. Tara, having a garden causes hail. Yes, it does. That is what I'm saying. Crazy cat. Crazy cat lady says, so what I'm saying is having a garden causes hail. That's exactly what I'm saying. I don't know. I was just like, I don't know what to do.
Which thing?
If I should have a garden this year or not. Well, because the thing is last July, it was getting to be so bad. I almost passed out one day watering. And I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. So then when we got the hail, and I had maybe had $20 worth of produce out of that garden. I was just like, anyway, okay.
2 years in a row, it's been destroyed. 3 years in a row. Wow. Actually, did you see Kimberly's thing about netting?
I have thought about netting. It would at least kind of slow it.
Well, I think if it slowed it, it wouldn't destroy it. What destroys it is it's flying in really fast and then pummels the plants.
Danny Badline says her trees are already budding out. Ooh, that's not good if you're in Canada. Yeah. Possibility of frost. Yeah, I know. I get it. Although a friend of mine, she had the best idea. When we lived in Colorado, we had the same problem. She planted her fruit trees on the north side of the house because it didn't get as warm as the south side, but it still got as much sun in the summer, and they didn't bud out until later. So if you ever plant any other ones, that might help. Leslie, do seed oils bother you? I don't think so. I've been off of them for a month, 5 weeks now. And I had some the other day, and I don't think it bothers me. All right. Vicky, I do the same thing with my late mom. She was a hoarder and helped her several times, finally gave up. Yeah, if they are not willing to keep progressing and keeping on top of it themselves, and I'm not talking about having a load of dishes in the sink. I'm talking about if you get their entire living room cleared and then you go back and you cannot find their living room again. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you have 1,000 socks, 500 pairs of socks, and you've already been through the socks, and there's literally no place to put any more socks. I can't help you if you're at that point. I can't. That's where you have to make the decision that you're doing this for you and your family. And if you don't love yourself and your family enough to do this for yourselves, there's nothing I can help you with. I really can't. So something's going to have to kick you in the butt to get you going, to make you realize, wait a minute, I'm not living like this anymore, and I refuse to do this. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what it takes for, whatever person has that problem. But it's going to have to get to that point until you have made a decision you're not going to live like this anymore. You can't do it. It's like an alcoholic. They have to decide they're not going to be drunk anymore. They just can't do it.
It bothers them more than losing their family and everything that they have.
Yeah.
Actually, it's, the hoarding thing. Years ago, we used to watch those hoarding shows, and a lot of times at the end of the show, the person would say, hey, you have to want this in order to do it. And they ended up parting ways, and the person's house just stayed the same because they just didn't want to change it.
Yeah.
It's sad, but those things happen.
Yeah. Hail netting. Yeah. Maybe I'll look into the hail netting. Oh, I don't know what to do. Kimberly says she made the sloppy joes the other night. Her husband finished it in 2 days, had barbecue chicken this week. He also ate that fast, and the homemade coleslaw. Thank you. You can get those recipes on our website, Living on a Dime, but all of those are in our Volume 1 cookbook. And guys, Mother's Day sale, 50% off right now if you buy the sets. Gluten-free, dairy-free cookbook. If you guys are gluten-free, dairy-free like me, easy recipes, get you in and out of the kitchen quick that your family will love. Tanya, does your gluten-free recipes contain rice flour? Yeah, a lot of them do. She's allergic to rice. You know what? I found out I'm allergic to rice. When I did my allergy test, I'm allergic to rice, potatoes, pecans, apples, oranges, soy. What else? There was like 5 other things. All wheat. I'm allergic to wheat. I'm actually a wheat allergy.
So did they tell you, because I know with me, they told me, here's a list of things that you've tested allergic to, but then you need to do elimination to try it out.
Well, that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So anyway, Karen, I have tried CoQ10 and I don't know that it actually did anything for me, but I'm going to functional medicine again now, starting all over again, trying to get up. You can send me the next one. Bounty Badlands. People these days have not lived through really bad times till now. They just don't know how to give up, do without, and there are cheaper options. Guys, we are going to be in for a rude awakening. I have a video coming up on this pretty soon, and maybe, I don't know. We're trying to decide if we should do more live shows. Should we do more live shows next week for our Mother's Day sale, or just keep doing live shows? But it has been... When did World War II end?
45. 80 years ago?
It has been since 1950, probably, since people have really had hard times. The early 1950s is when the last of the World War II vets were getting out and having housing crisis still back then. But when it was really bad, we have not, the last 3 generations, pretty much. My mom's generation, my generation, and my kids' generation. Now my kids' generation, if my kids don't have kids, but you know, the 4 generations have not had it hard at all.
And so many of us think we do.
And so many people think they do. They truly, the amount of people, if you're drinking soda at all, you don't have it hard. If you have anything in your refrigerator or your cabinets at all, you don't have it hard. If your heat in your house is over 50 degrees, you don't have it hard. If you have more than 1 shirt and 1 pair of pants and 1 pair of shoes, you do not have it hard. And we just don't know what that is. So yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree with that. Tanya, where can you find all of our videos? If you just click on the Living on a Dime right there at the bottom, it'll take you to our main page on our YouTube channel, and you can find all of our over 2,000 videos. I don't know, how many videos do we have now? You should go to the front page and see how many. I'm curious. I haven't looked for a while. Yeah, they're not desperate enough, Rachel says. Exactly. Yeah. Irene just ordered our books for bridal shower. Thank you. Yes, they make great graduation gifts, great bridal showers, great wedding gifts. Actually, new mom gifts. They just hit for anybody.
2,310 videos.
We have 2,310 videos.
On this channel, Living on a Dime alone. It doesn't include what's on Super Easy.
And there's like 400, I think, on Super Easy now, or close to it.
Well, that's a lot of yakking.
I have done almost 4,000 videos. No wonder I'm tired. At what point do I quit?
I don't think you would. Oh, Vicky says Facebook is going to delete live shows after 30 days. Yeah, Facebook's been sending out messages telling us, hey, if you have live shows, you want to back them up because we're deleting them off of Facebook. Live shows have a shorter lifespan than upload videos largely. So yeah, that's why they're doing that, because most people watch a live show in the first 3 or 4 days.
Mm-hmm. Tanya, my brother was a hoarder and he's not here anymore. His girlfriend has the daunting task of going through all this stuff. Yeah, actually, I don't know. I feel like if I die soon, I want to get my stuff together. So I've actually been going through getting all of my stuff together too. Like I got the garage done the other day. I got the storage room done, or stockpile room done. I got my storage room for all my decorations done. So when I die, I got to get this studio out here. I got to work on, I'm getting rid of all of the cooking stuff from when we were going to have a separate studio, and I'm going to get rid of the majority of my soap stuff. So when I die, Mike and the kids can just set it all on the driveway, have a big garage sale, and pay for my funeral.
You got plans that I don't know about here?
Yep. You can pay for my funeral. Just put it all out on the driveway. Don't do a GoFundMe. Just pay for my funeral with my garage sale.
Okay, then.
Cheryl loves both our channels. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Denise, Tara and Mike, you're in your mid-age now, facing a lot of life changes. Are we facing a lot of life changes?
I think we maybe are.
We are?
I don't know.
Like what?
Well, they're changes, but they're not like, I don't know. I guess it's just as you go through life, you have changes.
We always had life changes.
I'm just thinking now it's interesting with the kids kind of off doing all their own different things and kind of.
Yeah, but they keep coming back.
Well, it's funny. They come back for a little bit, then they go out again, and then they come back, and then it's not, and they're mostly, well, some of them are doing seasonal type jobs. And so they'll come back a little bit between the seasons. It's interesting to see a lot of that. Yeah. And also with Jack, he's getting close. He's more than halfway through high school now.
Yeah.
That's different.
He could graduate next year. We're trying to decide if he's going to graduate early or not.
Well, it's funny. He was supposed to have 2 more years, but they asked us the beginning of the school year if we wanted to move him up. And we talked to him about it, and we were like, well, might be good to not unless you're sure you want to. But then he threw it out there the other day, and I was thinking, oh, so that would really accelerate the end of school process, which I have to tell you isn't too painful. But at the same time, it's a totally different thing. So
Elizabeth says, if you dump all the stuff, where's all the new junk coming from? Compulsive shopping? Yeah, maybe for other people. I don't compulsive shop. I mean, I do go to the thrift store once or twice a week, but I don't compulsive shop. Like, I only get things that are there. But I know a lot of people, when they declutter, then they go through and they compulsive shop again and refill it up. As a matter of fact, garage sale season has started, and I didn't go to one garage sale this morning.
What? Although, to her defense.
Do you need to see if I'm sick? What's your determination?
Hey, you're sick. Just kidding. Well, the one thing to Tara's defense is she's had a lot of family members growing up that were super ultra hoarders, but she's not one.
Yeah.
Like, she has a lot of stuff from time to time, but the stuff kind of moves. She's like, oh, I think maybe this would all work great for a show, or this would all work great for soap making or gardening or whatever. So a bunch of stuff will come in for a little while that she's working on a certain kind of project. And
then if it doesn't work, it goes out.
If it doesn't work, it goes back. And a lot of times she buys it at garage sales. It comes in. She realizes, I'm not really going to do this. And then she sells it on Facebook Marketplace for 5 times what she paid for it.
I do all the time.
She does that all the time. So
all the time.
I don't.
Well, I'm like, if you looked at my stuff right now, you'd say, oh, wow, the stuff in the garage here is really cluttered and everything. Well, it is, but we had set this up to be a whole nother studio. So I haven't been feeling very good. So I've just been picking one room at a time, going through getting everything resituated again, because I got behind on keeping on top of everything. Well, now all this stuff in here, pretty much all of it's going to the thrift store now. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it, because it did not work to have a studio for cooking out here, which I thought it would, but it didn't. So yeah, I know. So anyway,
I don't know. It's nice to be in the studio again.
Okay. You can send me the next ones. Karen, they think hoarding behavior is a form of OCD. Not sure willpower is enough. Then get your butt to the doctor and get some drugs.
She's not saying you. She's
not
saying
you.
The person with OCD.
I have had it up to here with people and their mental illness problems. It's fine if you have a mental illness. Every single person on the planet has some sort of mental illness, but figure out a way to deal with it. If you need drugs, go to the doctor, and get them figured out. If those drugs don't work, keep going back until you figure it out. If you don't want to do drugs, well, then you need to change your lifestyle so that you can cope with it and figure out how to do it. But your OCD, not speaking of you specifically, Karen, just in general, your OCD is not my problem. If you come over to my house and my blinds are all askew, do not be rude and go around my house fixing my blinds. I'm sorry. There's a thing called common courtesy and manners. And it's time people stopped using their mental illnesses for an excuse for everything. And I'm not yelling at you, Karen. It's just, oh my goodness. It's like
there's specific people in her mind, and none of them are on the show right now.
It's like one person after another is using that as their excuse. And it's not just one person in particular that I'm thinking of. And I went and visited a friend on the way to Kansas, a friend that I hadn't seen in almost 15 years. And I just lost track of her, lost her phone number, lost her email and everything. And when we first moved, I tried emailing her. I must have had the wrong email address or something because she didn't respond. And I asked her, she said, I never got an email. I was like, okay, well, I must have had went into spam or something. Because back then a lot of our stuff went into spam. But anyway, it was so refreshing to talk to someone who had problems and struggles and was talking about it. And what's funny is we actually had, over that 15 years, almost similar struggles through the whole time. It was actually pretty crazy how we had similar things going on. But her and another person I can think of are the only two people that when something major is going on, they don't just make an excuse using their mental illness as the excuse for whatever the reason is they're being irresponsible for. And it's so refreshing to have someone who's not a victim, who's not blaming someone else, who's not gaslighting someone else, because it's like, it's just a chronic disease now where people just can't take responsibility for their actions.
Well, and we know people, and also we know of people, but largely it's the ones we know personally that I realize some people, it's kind of like, I have this problem and I'm just going to say it's a mental illness, and therefore you have to do things for me and work around me and bow to me because I have this mental illness or whatever. And what I think we were talking about, Tara said the other day, everyone has a mental illness. And honestly, I'm not really sure that it's really an illness. It's life. And the thing that's really interesting is because, I've shared before that I grew up in an abusive situation. There's some things that still affect me. And unfortunately, I have not been able to unpack them completely. But the thing is, if you go talk to a doctor or a therapist or whatever, they're not going to say, oh, that's sad for you. Oh, you can just say it's my OCD or it's my anxiety or my whatever.
Depression.
But if you have a good therapist, they're not going to say, oh, yeah, just say it's my everyone. We can't go to a botanical garden as a family because I'm afraid of bees. That's a real life example for me. but the thing is that
I did immersion therapy.
I'm not afraid of bees anymore, by the way. But
immersion therapy. What therapy is it?
But any therapist that says, "Oh, you're afraid of bees," oh, well, then just isolate yourself from bees the rest of your life and tell everyone that you know they can't have you anywhere near bees because of your anxiety. That you should fire that therapist. Because what a real therapist is supposed to do is to help you face those things, because the only way you can get past anxiety is to challenge the thoughts that you have that aren't realistic about that. What's the same thing with OCD? There are things where you need to train yourself to recognize, wait, this thought isn't this thought isn't productive. This thought isn't accurate. I'm lying to myself about this thing. And therapists will take you through that. So when people say it's usually when they say it's my insert condition here, that mental type, I'm not saying that some people have like brain damage. That's,
that's not what we're
lifelong
talking
disability,
about.
and that's not what we're talking about. But the majority of people that have anxiety and OCD and a lot of that stuff, it is a way that they're thinking that's causing that. And it may be that the thinking is overwhelming. I know I've had the anxiety over the years, largely because of things that happened to me when I was younger, but I've had to recognize, wait, this isn't actually happening to me. The thing that I'm anxious about isn't actually happening. It looks like it might be happening. I'm anticipating it's going to happen, but it's not happening. And you have to go through those processes of undoing that in your own mind. If you don't, then you just have to be happy with your problem and realize that people aren't going to dance around you. And it's hard to resist it and go against it. But that's the thing that we've noticed is a lot of people like to say, I have this condition or whatever it is. And it's more of a way to force other people to kind of dance around you.
Well, it's like somebody.
And people don't like that. So eventually you'll be alone.
I don't know who it was. It was
it.
maybe Michelle, but I'm not sure. Well, maybe not. I can't remember who it was. But somebody said having mental illness is not any excuse for being rude. No, it's not.
Well,
I'm sorry.
The thing is that when people say, oh, you're not appreciating my anxiety or my OCD or whatever, therefore, and you're judging me or whatever, so you need to do these things to keep me happy. People get upset about that because intuitively they know they're being manipulated in some way. And I'm not saying if you're just totally overrun with anxiety today, you're not going to be able to snap your fingers and be done with it tomorrow. But the thing is, you can say, wait, is this really what it looks like? Am I maybe thinking of this in the wrong way? And just challenging those thoughts.
Yeah. Obviously, and Michelle says sometimes people are opposite and are rude to people with mental illnesses. Yes. And that shouldn't happen either. I totally agree with you. And there are people who are who have such bad mental illnesses or mental disabilities that they truly cannot function in society. And I understand that. And that's not the people I'm talking about. But what's happened nowadays is just every little thing has turned into a trauma and turned into a crisis. And that used to just be, that's what happened in life. And you had friends and you got together and you talked about what was happening and you worked on a way to figure out a way to keep going because you had to rely on each other because you wouldn't eat next winter if you didn't figure out how to go and clear out the wheat out of the field that the hail just destroyed. Did you guys ever see that Little House on the Prairie? Well, that's actually what happened. I have great grandparents who that happened to. Those things were actually happening. The wheat crop would be ready to be harvested. It would be flattened by hail. And they would have to go out and literally scoop it out of the ground and try to save as much as they could just to have a little bit to eat for the winter. And my one great grandmother talked about how they literally almost starved because they ran out of food and her dad had to go on snowshoes on huge drifts, 50 miles to try and get some flour and sugar for them. And he was gone 3 weeks and they thought he had died. And she said, we ate our last meal and we thought, okay, this is it. We're going to die now. People have no idea what true hardship is now. And so every single thing is just throwing people off kilter because they just can't handle anything in life anymore. They just can't handle anything. So, oh, Shannon, hello. All right. And so I'm not belittling. I know I'm going to get it all. Well, you're just belittling people with mental illnesses. Believe me, I'm not. I get it. But sometimes you just got to suck it up, Buttercup, and figure it out. All right. Anyway.
Well, some things like the anxiety, I can personally speak to that. I have been overrun entirely with it. But you know what? I have challenged it. I have faced it over the years, and sometimes some bits of it still come back. But what I realize is it's really uncomfortable and painful to stand against it, to realize that you're lying to yourself, or you're anticipating things that aren't really happening, and trying to solve problems that aren't really happening. You're just imagining what all the possible problems could be and trying to solve all of them instead of the one problem that's actually happening to you. And I've realized over years of saying, wait, this is wrong. Wait, I'm thinking of this wrong. Wait, my mental thinking in this area is broken. What's the right thing to think here? I have trained myself to not have most of that anxiety anymore. And so I can speak to that knowing that almost everyone out there can do that. I mean, a few people, like if you've been shot and you have brain damage because of it, maybe there's something wrong in your brain that can't be fixed, but almost everyone can. And it's interesting, the thought of how you can do things is so much more empowering than just saying, I can't do that.
Well, and this comment here says, Gina says, I'm sorry that someone is held hostage by mental illness, but I'm not willing to also be held hostage by it. Yeah, I'm not going to be held hostage by your mental illness that you refuse to either deal with it or go get help. You know, I'm not going to continue to participate. If that's the way it's going to be, I'm not going to participate, period. And people need more permission to say that. And we have people personally where they were not told no, and they've been catered to their entire lives, and they are a mess. They are absolutely a mess. Why? Because they've turned into entitled babies because they've just been catered to their entire life. It's ridiculous.
We have a friend was one of the people that we went to visit last week. And she came from a country.
Actually, don't say the whole thing because I was actually going to do a video on that.
Well, she came from a country in Central America and was describing the things that she went through, just matter-of-factly, how she stepped from this. She was in a super third world kind of environment in a really
horrid
poverty-stricken thing, to the place where, like in the 5th grade, 6th grade, her father couldn't afford the transportation to let her go to school anymore. And
so at 12, she went to work.
She wanted to go to work, you know, doing things like cleaning and cooking and stuff that other people here would probably look down at, because she thought, I want to learn skills. I want to improve myself. And she just kept stepping one step after the other. And now she's in the medical field and she's doing pretty well for herself. And she's got an amazing family. And I think, you know, this is the kind of thinking that more Americans need. Is how can I go from this place to that place, and even learning English along the way while in the middle of amazing like studying and education. It was crazy.
Thank you. R. McClure says, I followed you for a couple years. She's purchased volume 1 and 2 today. Thank you very much. You got 50% off for a Mother's Day sale right now, guys. If you buy our sets, 40% off if you buy our individual books. This is volume 1 and volume 2. Totally different recipes in both books. They go together, but you can use them separately. And Dining on a Dime, gluten-free, dairy-free, right there. If you are gluten-free, dairy-free, like me.
Ooh, Sassy Preps says some bosses have mental illnesses and then you're trapped.
No, you're not.
What I would say on that is I would get another job as quick as you can. But while you're there,
do what you can.
Try to figure out the best way to navigate that situation. But I would not stay for the long term with a boss that was that way. I've had too many bosses like that, and it's just not worth it.
Yeah. Lisa said, just eat cardboard, Tara. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling like. I'm down to fish. What's it called? Some sort of grain-free tortilla shell that's ridiculously expensive. They're $1 each. It's like $8 for 8 of them. Cabbage. Fish, cabbage, these tortilla shells, and blueberries. That's what I'm eating right now.
Yeah, the grain-free tortillas. Those are very interesting looking.
They taste like, you know what they taste like? The communion wafer, plastic wafer crackers they have now.
Wow.
So anyway, Layla says, I owe $1,500 left on my car. And my income tax is $1,600. Then I can lower my car insurance to state liability. Very good. I'm going to be saving $550 each month. then funneling that money into other bills by December debt-free. From there, we can funnel into savings for down payment on buying houses. Very good, except let me give you a piece of advice. If you haven't already, at least have $3,000 to $5,000 in savings. So if you crash that car and it's on liability, you can buy a new one without having to go back into debt. So I would definitely do that first.
Also, if you go in liability, I would still have the uninsured motorist part.
Yeah.
So if somebody who's uninsured hits you, you don't lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's not your fault.
Yep.
Everyone's missing us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been awesome tonight.
Deborah, I'm Rapture Ready. Thanks for introducing me to Tyler. You are welcome. Yeah, I feel like Jesus is coming back any day now. I mean, seriously, the wars and rumors of wars, when we were in Branson, we were under 2 tornado warnings. No, watches. They were expecting warnings. We drove through Omaha. Did you know that Omaha is flooding?
No, I didn't.
We drove through Omaha, and the next day, Omaha's flooding.
Well, I was thinking of
seriously
bigger things like India and Pakistan going at it all of a sudden out of nowhere.
It's just like, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. Why am I even actually? I have to say, I do have a hard time doing these videos because I'm like, why am I even wasting my time? If we're not going to even be here, I guess it's for all the people that are left. But anyway, whoever gets the money after I'm gone from YouTube, have fun.
But we were still in Colorado, and that was there too. So.
This is true. I said in 2020,
So
I can't imagine it would be 5 years. And so now this year will be 5 years.
Yep.
So I was wrong. Well, the year's not up yet, though. Next year, I can say I was wrong. On January 1st, I'll say I was wrong. Dee Dee, I spent 3 days cleaning out the garbage, out the big garage and the shed. Had a little help, but we filled a dumpster. Yeah, that's great. I think I filled 2 big trash cans full of stuff out of our garage because it just kept piling. Well, here's what happened. In September, I had planned on changing living on a dime totally. And I was going to start doing how to thrift store upcycle videos. But then I went and looked at the analytics on how much those people get paid and how much we're getting paid. And I was like, I'm not going to be doing those videos. So I had collected all this stuff at garage sales, thinking in September and October that I was changing over to that. And then our Christmas candies went crazy starting in November on Super Easy Recipes, my other channel. And it just piled up and I couldn't get rid of it. Well, then it was 20 below and I was not going to work out in the garage when it's 20 below. So the first really nice day we had, which was what, 2-3 weeks ago, I was on it. And what is the garage like now?
Oh, wow. It's spotless.
Does it sing?
Yes, it does. We could have a dance in there now.
Well, I don't know if I go that far.
There's a big open space. We do our shipping is out of there, but it's neatly organized.
Yeah.
And wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah, we have our yeah. Yeah. We have it in there. So holy cow, Bounty in the Badlands. We're trying to hire farm help. We pay $50 an hour and still can't find people to help with seasonal chores. It's seasonal, not full time. But it's tough to even get kids to help with 4 hours a day. Man, I got some kids I'll send up there. Wow. And they even bring their own house with them.
Yeah.
Our oldest is he lives in a bus as a tiny house, and so he's parked here for the moment. Anyway, yeah. All right, guys, thank you for watching. We are having our Mother's Day sale right now. Go grab our cookbooks 50% off. This might be the lowest price of the year. I don't know what's happening. I got a video coming up on the Walmart warnings for 2 weeks and stocking up. And I've got a video coming up on the tariffs, which I haven't shot yet, but we're going to be talking about all of those.
Well, when Tara says it might be the lowest price of the year, we will not offer a lower price unless there's a huge catastrophe.
Yeah.
Like we've never.
Well, I mean, if we have something like last year where we spent almost 6 figures, we did our taxes and we spent closer to 6 figures than 5 figures on medical last year. So,
But even then, this was more or less this as low as we went for that.
Yeah. So unless, I mean, if I'm paying for a funeral, well, we have enough money saved up again for a funeral, right? We have enough money for that. So just throw me in a pine box. I'll throw you in a pine box. Do you want a pine box or just a bag? Got to plan these things.
I'll be dead. Who cares?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, what do I
It would be cool
care?
to have a Celtic cross, though.
A Celtic cross. Okay.
It's just it would be cool. I'm not going to be here to enjoy it, so whatever.
I'll try to remember that. All right, livingonadime.com. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good night.
Thanks. See y'all later. Bye.